Breaking news. Major decision looms for the Las Vegas Raiders. The clock is ticking, and the Las Vegas Raiders may need to act before training camp begins, or risk falling behind. This is not just another off-season headline. ESPN has dropped a bold suggestion about what the Raiders must do immediately, and it sparked a serious conversation. But here's the thing. While their idea makes sense, it might not be the most critical move Las Vegas needs right now. I'm here to break it all down for you, clearly, honestly, and with no fluff. Today, we're diving deep into what ESPN proposed, and then I'll reveal 4 key moves the Raiders must make before training camp kicks off. But before we jump into this hot topic, if you're a real Raiders fan, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give this video a like, and don't forget to press the bell icon so you never miss the latest updates. We've got big stories, bold predictions, and everything silver and black coming your way fast. All right, let's get into it. According to a recent ESPN article titled "One Final Offseason Move for All 32 Teams," the Raiders should extend Colton Miller. And honestly, that's a smart suggestion. Here's why. Colton Miller is without question the best offensive lineman on this team. Last season, his pass block win rate was 88.1%, ranking 37th in the league. Not elite, but solid. In 2023, he was even better at 89.4%, placing him 25th. And here's something else. The Raiders ran the ball much more effectively to the left, where Miller lines up. That tells you everything you need to know. There's also a lot of inexperience on the O-line, and keeping Miller locked in as the veteran leader would bring stability and strength up front. Yes, he skipped voluntary workouts earlier this year, hoping for a new contract. But Miller has made it clear. He wants to be a Raider for life. ESPN is right, and this move makes sense. A 2-year extension would keep number 74 in silver and black and show commitment to a player who's earned it. But is that the most important move this team needs right now? I don't think so. Stay with me, because at the end of this video, I'll share my top 4 moves the Raiders must make before training camp starts. Moves I believe are even more urgent than Colton Miller's extension. So here's what I want from you right now. Head to the comments and tell me what you think is the #1 move the Raiders need to make before rookies report on July 17th and veterans on July 22nd. What does Pete Carroll and John Spytek's regime need to do to set this team up for success? Your answers could be spot on, or way off, but you'll find out soon. Let's keep going. Time is running out. The Raiders must act now. We're just 73 days away from the start of football season, and yet one of the Raiders' most important decisions is still hanging in the air. It's June 26th, and somehow Colton Miller still doesn't have a new deal. That's not just surprising. It's concerning. What's causing the delay? Let's be clear, the Raiders can't afford to let this linger any longer. Colton Miller isn't just another lineman. He's still performing at a high level, and despite battling through injury early in the season, he finished strong. His Pro Football Focus, PFF, grade for 2024 was 80.6 overall, ranking him 13th among all tackles in the NFL. That's elite company. And get this, from Week 6 to Week 18, he allowed only 1 sack. That's not just good, that's reliable, durable protection. And that's exactly what this Raiders team needs. What makes this even more impressive? Miller fought through a shoulder injury and still showed up. When others might have sat out, he played through pain, despite all the change happening around him. New head coach, new GM, new faces on the offensive line, and yet Miller kept grinding. That's leadership. That's loyalty. That's the kind of player you lock in, without hesitation. And here's something else to think about. The Raiders made a bold move this offseason. They traded a 3rd-round pick to get quarterback Geno Smith, a huge commitment. That decision shows trust. But how can you expect Geno to succeed if you don't secure the man who protects his blind side? In Seattle last year, Geno was sacked 50 times. That kind of pressure destroys rhythm and confidence, If the Raiders want the best version of Geno Smith, they need to protect him at all costs, starting with the left tackle. So, again, the question must be asked, why hasn't this deal been done yet? The Raiders made their move at quarterback. Now it's time to back that up by securing the line. Colton Miller isn't just a piece of the puzzle. He's the foundation. The longer this drags on, the bigger the risk. If the Raiders are serious about winning, about competing, and about giving Geno a real shot, then this contract extension needs to happen now. The Raiders can't afford to wait any longer on Colton Miller. If the Las Vegas Raiders truly want to protect their future and give Geno Smith the best chance to succeed, then they must secure the one man who's been the anchor of their offensive line, Colton Miller. Miller isn't just any left tackle. He's the pillar of this line, the foundation, the steady force who's quietly led this group through ups, downs, and total rebuilds. So why hasn't he been extended yet? That's the question every true Raiders fan should be asking. Look, leadership doesn't always have to be loud. Colton has been a team captain for 3 years, leading by example, showing up when it matters, and pushing through injuries most players would sit out for. He's not a flashy talker, but he plays like a warrior. And even though he skipped some early off-season activities, he showed up to the voluntary sessions that mattered. He made it clear he wants to be a Raider for life. When a player with that mindset, loyal, tough, proven, tells you he wants to stay, you don't wait. You don't hesitate. You get it done. This new regime, led by Pete Carroll and John Spytek, has made it clear they want to win now, but also build for the long haul. That's why keeping Miller makes perfect sense. He fits both timelines, the present and the future. Ask yourself this: if Miller is standing in front of the cameras saying, "I want to be a Raider for life," and everything he's done proves that, then what's the holdup? Players like him are rare, dependable, respected, built for battle. If you want a team full of guys who bleed silver and black, Miller should be the one you build around. Now, let's address another critical point: money. There's no excuse left on the financial side. Depending on where you look, whether it's spot rack or over the cap, the Raiders currently have between $31 to $36 million in cap space. That's more than enough to sign Miller to a smart extension this offseason. And let's be honest, it's not just about money. It's about vision, about recognizing that Miller fits the timeline of this team perfectly. He's still young, still improving, and still playing like one of the best at his position. This is the type of player you commit to. So, what are we waiting for? Raiders must lock in their core, and Colton Miller is the starting point. Let's be real. The Raiders' window to win is now. And that means securing the foundation pieces who can lead this team into the next 3 years. Head coach Pete Carroll has a 3-year contract. General manager John Spytek has a 5-year plan. Quarterback Geno Smith is signed for 3 years. Star defender Max Crosby also tied up through that same competitive window. So where does Colton Miller fit into this puzzle? Exactly where he should, right at the center. The smart move here is clear. Offer Miller a 2-year extension worth around $41 million, with about $31 million guaranteed. Those numbers are based on recent deals given to offensive tackles with similar age, production, and leadership qualities. Locking Miller in means you're tying him to the same timeline as Carroll, Geno, and Crosby. That kind of alignment builds consistency, chemistry, and a true championship blueprint. The Raiders want to win a Super Bowl in the next 2 to 3 years. That's not just wishful thinking. It's the clear direction of this regime. And to make that happen, you need an offensive line that can protect, punish, and dominate. And that starts with Colton Miller. But here's the twist. While Miller's extension is important, it's not the only priority, and it might not even be the biggest. Coming up next, I'll reveal the top 4 moves the Raiders should make before training camp begins. Miller will absolutely be on that list, but you might be surprised where he lands. Because when you see what's ranked number 2 and number 1, you'll realize that while Miller's deal matters, There are other critical decisions that could make or break the 2025 season. The Raiders are close. They're building something real. But to hit full stride, they need to make every single one of these moves before the clock runs out. The Raiders' long-term vision depends on smart extensions and hard decisions. When you're trying to build a team for the future, you don't just chase big names. You build around players who are committed, dependable, and fully locked in. And that's exactly what both Jakobi Meyers and Colton Miller bring to the table. Let's start with Meyers. He's not loud, he's not flashy, but he's the kind of player who shows up, handles business, and leads by example. Right now, he has $0 guaranteed dollars left on his contract. That's a risky spot for a team that's banking on his presence long term. Extending him for 2 more years, through 2027, isn't just a nice gesture. It's a strategic move that fits perfectly into the Raiders' 3 to 4 year championship plan. Now, coming in at number 3 on the list of must-do moves is extending Colton Miller. Yes, it's still essential, but there's a reason it's not higher. Here's why. Miller and Meyers both seem to genuinely want to be part of this franchise. There's no drama, no trade demands, no holdouts. They've bought into what the Raiders are building. And maybe, just maybe, that's why these extensions haven't been rushed. The front office might feel confident that these guys aren't going anywhere. But make no mistake, locking them in still matters. You don't want to roll the dice and wait too long. A solid structure begins with solid contracts, and these 2 players are foundational pieces. Now, let's talk about number 2 on the priority list. And this one is a little more complicated. Restructuring Christian Wilkins' contract. Yes, the signing of Wilkins was one of the boldest, most exciting moves the Raiders made this offseason. On paper, it was a home run. But injuries have already changed the outlook. It's becoming clear Wilkins won't be 100% healthy this year. Another surgery is likely, whether sooner or after the season ends. That's a problem. He's already been restructured once, adding void years into the future, possibly 2028 or 2029. But if he misses most of this season or plays below expectations, the Raiders could be paying premium money for 2 years of limited production. That's not just frustrating, it's risky. When you're trying to win in the next 2 to 3 years, you need full clarity on every major contract. If Wilkins can't be your cornerstone on the defensive line this season, then the front office needs to restructure now, not later. Make the numbers work. Make the timeline align. Most importantly, make sure you're not tying up cap space for a player who may not deliver until year 3. This is where tough decisions separate good teams from great ones. And if the Raiders are serious about competing now, these decisions can't wait. The most urgent Raiders move. Strengthening the secondary. Let's be honest. If the Raiders are serious about chasing a Super Bowl in the next few years, big decisions need to happen now. We've already talked about extensions and restructuring, but this next move is number 1 on the priority list, adding veteran talent to the secondary. Here's why. There's still uncertainty around Christian Wilkins' health. If he's not 100% this season, and all signs suggest he won't be, the defensive line takes a step back. That creates a chain reaction. If the front can't bring consistent pressure, then the secondary will be exposed. Right now, the Raiders' defensive backfield is young and scrappy, but not deep. The current roster might be enough if the defensive line is firing on all cylinders. But without Wilkins at full strength, this unit needs reinforcements. That's why bringing in experienced defensive backs is the most critical move left before training camp. So, what kind of help should the Raiders pursue? You can argue between cornerbacks and safeties, but the bigger need is at free safety, a position that still feels wide open. Here are a few names who could make a real difference if Las Vegas moves fast. Julian Blackmon, young, instinctive, and a great fit for this scheme. Justin Simmons, veteran leadership, elite range, and one of the smartest DBs in the league, Stephon Gilmore. Yes, he's a corner, but don't be surprised if he transitions to safety, like Charles Woodson and others before him, Mike Hilton. an outstanding nickelback who brings physicality and experience. Quandre Diggs, aggressive, vocal, and ready to contribute right away. Signing even one of these players would stabilize the back end and give this defense the flexibility it desperately needs, especially if Wilkins isn't himself. And while we know extensions for Colton Miller and Jakobi Meyers are still important, those can wait just a little longer. The secondary, however, cannot. If the Raiders don't act now, they risk walking into the season with a hole in their defense that could cost them games early and momentum late. Every great team builds from the trenches back. But when the trenches are shaky, the back end has to be elite. And that's why signing a veteran defensive back is priority number one for this team.